G'day, and what we have here with our DIY ECRM is a publication page or PDF page, the page we're going to convert to PDF, and it is a mirror image of our dashboard to the left, except it's more presentable. It's white for starters, so it doesn't waste ink when you print it. It will take too long. And we're working away here, and we're working on this section here. Now, let me show you something about this. For example, G12 has no dollar signs next to it. But if I copy that, place it here, well, now we have a formula in there, and it's changed to H17 because that means it's relatively moved down a bunch of cells, and that's why it's done that. Let's undo that, and I'll show you something else. We're going to hit F4 just to put some dollar signs in there. That's better. You can't do it when the cell is open. Hit F4 when it's on the cell, not opening the cell. Anyway, we've got dollar signs now in front of the G. That means if I copy this, column G isn't going to move. If I go down a row, row 12 isn't going to move. And same on this side here with that one. So that's done. So now if I go copy, we're not going to move down rows and across columns. We're just going to end up again with G12. Okay, so that's what that's all about. Now notice how I'm blocking off my text here. That's because we can't have any formulas in adjacent cells if we want text to spill over when we don't merge cells together. And we don't want to merge cells together because this area here I want to do a sort function, and sort won't work with merged cells. So how do we do flow over? Well, first of all, you can't have wrap text automatically because it's trying to wrap it around in that one cell. So we can't have that, and you choose either left or right. Here I've got right. You see it says right here. I want it to spill back to the left, and this one here, of course, is spilling across from the left. And another thing is numbers don't work. Oh, that's the devil's number. There you go. It will not spill over, and that there has the same settings. We got left, for example, no wrapping around there, and it still won't do it. So let's get rid of that. So that's how we set up our page to flow over into other cells. And speaking of numbers that won't flow in, I've actually had to convert this to text, and apparently that's the formula. First of all, I've got my usual if Y17 equals 0. I've changed it to 0 now because see these zeros? They're empty. So if it's 0 in these cells, publish nothing here. I want blanks. So if Y17 equals 0, put nothing. Otherwise, text, which converts numbers to text, Y17, 14,385.56. I wanted to convert it to text. And you have to put the format. Apparently that's the format. I don't know why it's stupid. But anyway, I looked it up, watched the video on YouTube. You put the dollar sign there for your currency. You put a hash for anything above 1,000. You put your comma there to say when you get to 1,000, we want a comma, just like over here. And 2 hashes, not 3 for some reason. And then a dot and zeros instead of hashes now. Okay, for decimal places. And then close off with some inverted commas. And that's the formula. Oh, that's what they want. Okay, and as you can see, I've got my 14,305.56 cents. How bizarre, how bizarre. And of course, I've dragged that down all the way to the bottom there, and we have what we have. Now this one here is a concatenate function. What are we doing? We are concatenating everything over here. If E17 equals 0, put nothing. This is E17 here. So if we've got no quantity, we don't want to publish this line. Fair enough. Otherwise, concatenate the whole lot. E17 right through to W17. And that's that formula. And that's in one cell, and it's spilling over to the right. Now, the interesting thing about this is there's nice spaces in there. I've actually double spaced the whole lot because it's getting quite compact. So how do I do that? Let's unmerge these cells. That cell there has 2 spaces, not 1. Okay, and then when you concatenate across merged cells, you also concatenate the hidden cells. That's why those spaces come into play. And I get a nice publication of whatever I write in here, comes up beautifully there. And sometimes you can't put a space in the hidden cell, like here, it's sandwiched in right in the middle. That's got 2 spaces to the left and 2 spaces to the right, as you can see there by the cursor. So that's another example of putting spaces in permanent locations. I don't have any spaces there, but I do have spaces here. There's one there on the left hand side of this, I believe. Yes, there is, but not on the right hand side. And there's a slight space here in the middle, just so it gives it nice look per what. Yeah, it looks better. Besides, once it's concatenated, I can increase these the size of the text, for example. I don't know what to do. You see, I can't increase the size of the rows because I want it to fit as much information into one page as possible. Speaking of which, I've outlined that page, because if those dotted lines here disappear, right, at least I know where the edge of the page is. So I've given it a border. Now that we've done that, I'm going to go to view, and I'm going to get rid of the grid lines. I don't need them on this page anymore. My dashboard is well defined with borders. This here, I want to see what it looks like actually in the publication when I convert it to PDF. So I could move these numbers across a bit, but we'll see. Right now, I just want it to work. Now, speaking of which, I'm going to actually bring those grid lines back for a second, because I'm going to do a sort function. And this is the main reason why I've done all this single cell unmerged editing here. I don't want these items to move here on the left. I only want my sort function to go from there to there and all the way down the bottom there like that. And then I'm going to go to data. I'm going to go auto filter, and I want the header, the first line, to be a header. Now, before I do anything, see this line here, it's got dollar signs. It won't sort unless I do dollar signs. See that? It's got dollar signs. This one here has dollar signs there. Zoom in. Oh, great. But below it does not. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight all of this. I am from here down all the way to the bottom, and I'm going to hit F4. And I'm going to get dollar signs across the board. See that? Dollar signs, as I said earlier, they're not going to be able to reference other cells. And that's very important for sorting. Otherwise, it's just going to do nothing. It's just going to like copy to a different row and a different column. And it's just going to reference whatever was on that row, for example. So no matter how much you sort it, it's not going to look any different. I've done that. So here we go again. We don't have any dollar signs. It's time to put some, highlight the whole lot here. And hit F4. We've got some dollar signs there now, great. See this? There they all are, dollar signs across the board. And we also want to do it in our last column here. Highlight the whole lot. And hit F4. So now that has dollar signs in our formula. Great, so nothing's going to move. So when we do our sort, it's going to reference the original cells and it's not going to mess everything up. Because when I'm going to be using this, the quantity, if there's no quantity, I'm not quoting or pricing anything. So that's going to end up all blank here, as you can see. Now if I sort out this row, descending for example, all my empty cells are now at the bottom where I want them. I don't want my invoice to look half detached or something like this, right? So what we're going to do is, well, the thing about getting rid of empty cells, it's a problem. Watch this. See, we've cut our cells off at 19, both on the publication page and our dashboard. It's actually deleted rows. So we don't want that. We don't want that. No, please. So don't touch anything in the sort function that is, don't untick any of this stuff. It's not really designed for it. In fact, sort is really a luxury. It's not a necessity. And if you get into trouble and you don't know what you're doing, you don't do it. And then you can just copy this with its merged cells and have a nice time. But anyway, that's how I've managed to get all of my stuff at the top. Obviously, some of these I should be putting some values in here, for example, some numbers in there. I haven't put the dollar signs against these yet, but as you can see now, I've got dollar signs there right on the right hand side, and that's going to be my publication. Obviously, these arrows won't be published. I'm thinking of putting the headers here, these headers on the left, a row higher on my publication page, just so I can obscure these arrows. I was thinking of also condensing this row or adding a row, but then it's going to do it on the left hand side. How to get rid of a sort function, which looks to be just as much trouble as it is beneficial. Click on that and it should be gone. Yes, it is. You know what? Screw sort. Screw sort. Well, have it, don't have it, but at least you know how to do it. Okay, so I've done a bit more editing. I've put borders around things because it just looks more presentable. I've obviously, as I said, squished down these headers because with a skinny little line there. That means I added another row here of deposits for people paying in increments over a period of time, because as you can see, the bottom of the page is now one extra row thanks to squishing that row down. There it is. I'm thinking of putting another dummy page here for customers. I call it a dummy page because honestly, customers know nothing about solar. They know stuff about cars, for example. You go to buy a car, you know the difference between a Land Cruiser and a Highwall from China. They're both four-wheel drives. In solar, what's the difference between inverters? I don't know. Who knows? You don't know. You know what air conditioning, ABS, brakes, all the features, whatever a car has. Everyone knows that, right? But when it comes to solar, people are dummies. So all this detail is going to bamboozle them. So I might do a dummy invoice over here for the customer. This one could be for my own assessment, because this is me assessing a job. See all this detail. For example, cap screws here. Get out of there. Over here in the dashboard, cap screws. Right, that sounds like pretty trivial. It's like $1.50 each for each panel. But if I've got a commercial job, 240 panels times $1.50, that's up quite a few $100 there. You want to hit the nail on the head. You want to hit the price just right when you're quoting a customer. So that's all that detail there. I need it. That's why I've got all this space. Space in spreadsheet is a good problem to have. In my dummy invoice here, I might merge two rows together, for example, and have much bigger text and half as many lines, and maybe do something like I've got up here. We'll get into how I did this later. It automatically calculates the size of the array and inverter size, battery size, so on. That'll be for the next video, I guess. But I could add to this, for example, the brand of panel, brand of inverter, brand of battery, and other limited detail for the dummy invoice over here. Maybe that's the best way to go. But for now, I really need this. And let's see what it looks like in publication. There it is. We've got a pretty nice looking layout there. Everything's automatically written with proper grammar, proper spacing, proper everything, thanks to the concatenate function. And now you know how to do it. I'll leave it with you for now.